Glenn, thank you so much. I did a lesson years ago called The Lessons from the Kings and studied those kings that you talked about. I thought the number was around 45, but you had said 39 was the number. Somewhere between 39 and 45 are the kings. And and you're right. Every king on the side of Israel was an evil king. That's how they were. That's how their life summary statement was. In fact, it's interesting. That's how their tombstones read. He did evil all his days. He was an evil man. I mean, that's descriptive of those kings of Israel. And then on the flip side, there was not very many righteous kings, right kings, even in the tribe of Judah, and they were the exception, not the rule. And everybody had a choice. But again, they were marked by either this evil statement or this right statement. And so I really appreciate that insight. The chart's super helpful for me too, because you get everything gets kind of crazy when you start putting this together. Let me just make a comment here, Greg. You know this. I actually, one of the reasons I get the newspaper is I actually go through obituaries. I know that sounds crazy, but Greg can give testimony that I have numerous times handed him an obituary that I read in the paper. I said, I think you probably know this person because of their church affiliation or everything. And Greg always says, man, do you read that? And I do. And here's why I read it, guys. I read those obituaries because I'm reminded of the dash. Everybody has a story. And it is some of these are very young. Some of these are very old. Every age is representative. You look at an obituary page in a newspaper, it's not exclusive to one generation of people. It's across the board. And no matter if they died young or old, they have a story. And I read those stories because I'm looking for evidence and proof of their faith, of their legacy. What was important to them? And some of the most verbose obituaries are void of anything that appears eternal. And it grieves me because they've put all this effort, all this energy into building an empire, building a reputation, whatever. But it's very concerning because you don't know if they have a future, an eternal home assured. And then you read some obituaries and it just comes out fully. Their love for the Lord, the relationships they made, their love for Jesus is just clear. And so the obituaries, and I know they're written by other people. Most people don't write their own obituaries, but it comes out. Do they love Jesus or not? Some of you know that my wife's cousin passed away a couple of years ago, and we went into her home, and we're responsible for kind of getting everything out of the house. And guys, the thing that was probably the most grievous process of that whole experience is we saw no evidence or no proof or no indicators that she had a faith. We didn't find any Bibles. We didn't find any scripture verses, things on the walls. We didn't find any evidence. We even, we had to go through her checkbook and look for things. We saw no evidence of her supporting and giving of her money to a local church. We saw nothing that evidenced that. And it was grievous for us to just, have no assurance that she knew the Lord. Now I know that the Lord is the judge. Only the Lord can access the human heart. He's the only one that can give the full accounting if someone is going to spend eternity in heaven or not. But at least from our perspective, our eyeballs, we didn't see that. And that's hard. It's really hard for a family to look at someone's life, look at their dash, look at and see if their dash had any evidence. So here's a question only you can answer. If you were arrested and for being a Christian, would there be enough evidence, enough proof to convict you in a court of law? It's a question I've asked many people. Is there proof that you have a faith? Is there evidence? And as I think about this list of people that Glenn put before us here, and even talking about Abner and Joab, is there proof or evidence that they were either evil or they were right? Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to a couple of words that describes your life. Did you know Jesus? Did you not know Jesus? Anyway, thoughts or reflections, what Glenn shared, those are just a couple things that came to mind as I was thinking about what you shared, Glenn. Anybody?
I think Glenn talked about the kings. One that always jumps off the pages at me is Asa. And in 1 Kings 15:11, 2 Chronicles 14:2, it says Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. Chronicles, Asa did what was good and right in the eyes of the Lord. And I've often thought, someday if the Lord doesn't come back and I have a funeral, I hope they can say Steve White did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. Now, having said that, if you read the story about Asa, Glenn, you alluded to it a little bit. Asa finished a very sad, pathetic old man. And somewhere along the way, he went off the rails and didn't consult God. And when he died, looks like he had miserable health. He didn't have the Lord's blessing. And so my takeaway from that is Asa finished pretty strong, started very strong and finished pretty weak. I would tell you that my finish was mediocre and some very weak spots along the way. I hope I can finish strong. People would say Steve White did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. That was the tenor, the character of his life as he grew older.
That's good, Steve. Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't know if it's because I'm, getting older, but I know I have thoughts, Glenn, a lot more now than I did 20, 30 years ago, just about mortality and legacy even. And I don't think I'm not consciously thinking about legacy, not that that is a bad thing to think about at all, but I am thinking about this stuff. In fact, it was just a few days ago before I even knew what you were speaking on, and I don't remember the exact situation, but it's not the first time I've had these thoughts in my head about, I think maybe I was thinking about my dad, who, my dad's been gone for going on 16 years now. And I certainly haven't forgot about him. And a lot of other people have not. But we don't think the same thing. I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is the world is not going to stop when I die. But I know those who are close to me, my life will have the greatest and longest lasting impact. And just like my dad's continues to have on me, and my father-in-law, who's only been gone a little over 4 years, had on me. And I don't know really how all this correlates, but I mean, I was literally just the other day thinking about this whole idea of legacy and even dash. I've used that before as well. I didn't know exactly where it came from, so I'm glad to kind of get some of this information you've given to us today. But man, it just, again, this just brings to the forefront of just how critical it is for us to live in a way that honors the Lord. That's bottom line. That's what matters, how we honor God and how we live our life for him. Not so that we can have our names written and published at some point in time, but just what it means to him. I'll let God take care of all the rest of that stuff. But to live in a way, where the way you put it, allow your character, the character of God in you, to define you and to define your legacy and all. And so it's just another good reminder, man. And I appreciate that. And I love your digging into the Old Testament like this, because I enjoy doing that too, and probably don't do it as often as I should. So just a very good, sobering reminder today, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Glenn, well, I just want to tell you, man, well done. You have me thinking because, as you guys know, most of you probably on this call have 20 plus years on me of life. And, being 27 years old, if I would have died today, what would my dash be? And because we think about legacy, we think about 60, 70, 80 years old, not 10, 15, 20 years within our lifetime. And for me, I'm sitting back here and saying, if I would have died today, what would my family say? What would my spouse say? What would my 4-year-old say about her daddy? What would my 2-year-old say about her daddy? And, I've been thinking about legacy as well, because I'm actually be preaching about legacy here in a couple of weeks. And how I'm going to get to the legacy part is that habits that we develop in our heart creates longevity, and longevity creates legacy. And that's something for me is like, I'm developing habits right now as a young person so that can become longevity in my life. And so when I look back, the legacy, as you're saying, the character I'm producing right now in the present is what I know within the future itself, what could be is my legacy. And, it just convicted me, but also too, I thought about it yesterday, and God's so good. Sometimes you feel like, how close are you to God? And as many people think, oh, you speak, you do all these different things, but everyone has those mindset sometimes of, okay, God, am I hearing you? Am I listening to you? Am I obeying you? And, and I'm prepping, a message here for next month. And I was walking to Target yesterday. I was picking out some soccer socks for my daughter. And I said 10 words to this older lady, and she leaves the aisle, and she comes back to the aisle, and she comes up to me and goes, do you know Jesus? And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm about to get evangelized. I love this. And literally, I said, yes, ma'am, I know Jesus. And she goes, I knew it. She said, you didn't have to say more than 5 words, and the presence of God was on you. The way your face, way you smile, and the presence that's among you when I walk by you. I just pray that I get to see you in heaven. I may not see you here on earth again, but I'm going to pray specifically that I get to see you in heaven, that we rejoice with God together, because Jesus is coming back, and he will be back. And so let us be bold in our faith in the time we have now to share as much as we can about Jesus. So that your message today reminded me so much about the dash. The dash is all about sharing about Jesus. And so I hope people talk about saying, Damien loved Jesus, Damien want more Jesus, and Damien got me closer to Jesus.
Thank you, Damien. I appreciate you interjecting there. I heard it one time said, which ladder is which wall is your ladder leaning against? And it's kind of like, okay, is it God side, or is it evil side? And it's always good to hear those stories, and hopefully people will realize in an instant that which direction we're leaning. So,
Amen.
Hey guys, I've got an announcement that I think is going to get you excited. We're going to get a chance to hear an amazing legacy story this fall. I confirmed yesterday with Sherman Smith that he's going to join us in September, and it looks like it's going to work out for him to be our golf tournament speaker. We're going to involve him in all kinds of things that week, in multiple settings, TGIW, some church events in the evenings. We're going to try to work with the Kansas City Chiefs and put him in front of the Chiefs as well while he's here. But and in case that name doesn't ring a bell, he's the star of the Show Me the Father movie. But Sherman's story is a story of legacy, And I asked him this question. I said, Sherman, would it be a blessing for your wife to join you when you're here? He goes, oh, right, if that could work out where she could be part of those days with me in Kansas City, that would just be wonderful. And so I said, hey, just count on it. We're going to make sure that, she gets here with you as well. So you talk about a legacy and an amazing story of what God can do with our dash, with our story, our individual story. And again, we don't have anything to do with the day we were born. There's 2 other people involved with that day. But and we most times won't have a choice on what our ending day is, but we got a lot of choices, a lot of opportunities in that dash. And I'm just so excited that Sherman's going to be able to share his Dash story with you guys, and your spouses and your kids and grandkids, maybe your own dad or mom as well, in September. So we got a lot to look forward to. Really excited that Sherman's going to be here with us on that.
Great.
Hey, Glenn, thank you so much for your message this morning. So much, you know, I've had talks like this before. Again, what is your dash? And so it was great to hear your past is your reputation, your present, your character, your future is your legacy. I think for me, I think for all of us on here as Christ followers, right? Ultimately, and Damon, you pointed this out, is do people know Christ? And I'm a huge Casting Crowns fan. I just pulled up a song called Only Jesus. So if you wouldn't mind, I just want to read these lyrics. I think it's very appropriate to just what you shared. So listen to these, because I think this is exactly what I think all of us want to make sure that we're about at the end of our lives. It says, make it count, leave a mark, build a name for yourself, dream your dreams, chase your heart. Above all else, make a name the world remembers. But all an empty world can sell is empty dreams. I got lost in the light when it was up to me to make a name the world remembers, but Jesus is the only name to remember. And I don't want to leave a legacy. I don't care if they remember me, only Jesus. And I've only got one life to live. I'll let every second point to him, only Jesus. All the kingdoms built, all the trophies won will crumble into dust when it's said and done. Because all that really mattered, did I live the truth to the ones I love? Was my life the proof that there is only one whose name will last forever? And I don't want to leave a legacy. I don't care if they remember me, only Jesus. And I've got only one life to live, and I'll let every second point to him, only Jesus. Jesus is the only name. Jesus is the only name to remember. So anyway, guys, to me, that kind of sums it up right there.
So Casting Crowns is one of my favorite bands. It's got a lot of great songs, but Scott, that specific song literally brings me to tears every time I hear it. It is, those lyrics and the power of that message it's my favorite Casting Crowns song by far. It rips me up, absolutely rips me up. Thank you for reminding me of that song right now. That's good.
Yeah, jump in here for just a second. Thank you, Scott, for sharing that, because it's a great song. I think that's the whole point, is when we die and somebody reflects back on our life, are they going to say, Glenn, Jesus? Or are they going to say, Glenn, yuck? You know, and if they say Jesus, that's really what we want.
That's the name of it.
I wanted to mention something that happened in the church I go to. I've been going there about 30 years, been involved with the men's group almost the whole time. And a lot of times we try to have a monthly men's meeting. And I'm in an aging church where we do a lot more funerals than we do weddings now. And when we started having these funerals, we would start to hear from the family of these people, of the guys that we'd been working with maybe for 10, 15 years. And we were surprised at everything that this person had been through in younger life and everything. And so somebody had the idea, well, why don't we we'll start with our older people in the men's group. Why don't we have them be the main speaker and tell us their life story? And so we would have an older person get up and talk, and we'd also have somebody videotape him, because, and this was a really good idea, because they presented that videotape to the family, the kids and stuff, before they passed away or anything. But, you'd be surprised at how many kids don't know that much about their parents' life, before they knew them. And it's a lot of surprises there, but in that whole process, which was just terrific to hear the stories coming from the people that actually lived it, but also they would usually talk about their religious progression through that and how they came to be at our church and everything. So that was really good too. But I'm just kind of passing this on as a really good idea if anybody's looking for some kind of an idea for men's club meeting. It's a really good gift for the family, but it's also a gift for each of us. I mean, you sometimes just saying hi to them when you pass them in the hall, or even if you go out on a work project with them, you get more into the present. You just really don't touch that much on the past. But you hate to wait till they die and you're sitting in their funeral to learn all the terrific things and what that person's life really meant and everything, and even their religious growth through that whole process. So just thought I'd pass that on.
Mm. Amen. Well, it's been great to be with you guys again. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for being participating in our discussion. Pray you have a great rest of the day. We love seeing you. All right, we'll say goodbye. God bless.